Tunda, a skilled hunter, hesitates as he finds a wounded leopard in the heart of the Angolan jungle. In a moment of unexpected mercy, he faces a choice that will forever alter his fate. The jungle never forgets. In the vast and untamed wilderness of Angola, where the dense forests stretch beyond the horizon and the rivers carve paths through time itself, the line between man and beast is thin. In the village of Kitala, a hunter named Tunda lived by the rhythm of nature. He was swift as the wind, patient as the river, and deadly as the strike of a cobra. Yet, for all his skill, fate had woven a tale for him, one of debt, honor, and a bond that would change his life forever. A hunter's mercy. Tunda crouched low, his spear firm in his grip. The dense undergrowth swallowed most sounds, save for the rustling leaves and the distant cry of an eagle overhead. He had been tracking his prey for hours. The leopard, a ghost of the jungle, had been terrorizing the village, taking goats and striking fear into the hearts of the people. His eyes followed the trail of paw prints in the damp soil, his hunter's instincts sharpening. A broken branch, a smear of blood, a tuft of golden fur caught on a thorn bush, it all told a story. The leopard was wounded. Then, he saw it. The great cat lay in a small clearing, breathing heavily. Blood matted its sleek coat, and its powerful body trembled with fatigue. Its amber eyes locked onto him, not with aggression, but with something else, an understanding, perhaps. A plea. Tunda felt his pulse quicken. He had hunted all his life, yet something about this moment felt different. The villagers expected him to return victorious, the beast's skin draped over his shoulders. But as he raised his spear, his hands faltered. He saw the wound, deep, ugly, inflicted by a careless hunter's arrow. Not his. Someone else had tried to kill this creature and failed. His throat was dry. Killing an animal for food or defense was one thing. But slaying a wounded beast that could not even fight back, something inside him refused. Slowly, Tunda lowered his spear. He reached for his water pouch and stepped closer. The leopard tensed, but did not attack. It watched, wary but silent, as he poured cool water over its wound. "You live today, my friend," he murmured. "But I hope you do not return to the village." He tore a strip of cloth from his tunic and pressed it against the wound. The leopard gave a low, rumbling growl, but it did not move. Tunda stood. He should have been relieved. Instead, a strange weight settled in his chest. The jungle had seen his mercy. And the jungle never forgets. Gifts from the shadows. In the early morning mist, Tunda finds an offering outside his hut, a silent gift from the jungle's most feared predator. Weeks passed, and life in Kitala went on. The dry season was in full swing, and the hunters were busy preparing for the lean months ahead. Tunda had nearly convinced himself that the leopard was gone. Until one morning, at the entrance of his hut lay a fresh killed antelope. It had been gutted, the best cuts of meat left for him. The fur bristled on the back of his neck. No human hunter would leave such a gift. The next day, there was another offering, a plump guinea fowl, its neck snapped cleanly. Then a wild hare. It was the leopard. Tunda said nothing to the villagers, but he knew. He saw the great cat sometimes, watching from the tree line, its amber eyes glowing in the dark. It was not a threat. It was not a pet. It was a debt repaid. The wrath of men. As raiders attack Kitala, Tunda is struck down. In the darkness, unseen but ready, the great leopard prepares to strike. The raiders came at night. They were men from distant lands, slavers who stole into villages under cover of darkness, taking the strongest to sell in foreign markets. They struck swiftly, setting huts ablaze, dragging people from their beds. Tunda woke to screams. Grabbing his spear, he rushed outside into chaos. Flames licked the rooftops, and the air was thick with smoke. Women and children ran, pursued by armed men. He lunged at the nearest attacker, his spear sinking deep. The man collapsed with a grunt, but another took his place. Pain exploded in his side as a club struck his ribs. He fell to his knees, gasping. Another blow, and the world tilted. The sounds around him blurred, distant. Then, a roar, deep, primeval. Out of the smoke, the leopard came like a shadow of the gods. It moved like lightning, tearing through the raiders with fangs and claws. Screams replaced battle cries as men fell. Some tried to fight, but the beast was relentless, its golden coat stained with the blood of those who had come to take what was not theirs. Tunda could do nothing but watch. The raiders fled. Those who could, ran. Those who could not, died where they stood. The battle was over, but the leopard remained. It stood over him, panting, its amber eyes still fierce. For a moment, they stared at one another. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, the great cat licked the blood from its muzzle and melted back into the jungle. Tunda would never forget. A hunter's reflection. As dawn breaks, the leopard stands guard over Tunda, its presence a final act of loyalty and repayment. In the days that followed, the villagers spoke of the miracle. The ancestors sent the leopard, the elders said. Tunda listened, but he knew the truth. The jungle had seen his mercy. And the jungle had repaid him in kind. He no longer hunted for sport. He still provided for his people, but something had changed in him. He understood now. The land gives, the land takes. And every debt must be paid. He returned to the clearing where he had first found the leopard. The wind whispered through the trees. There were no footprints. Perhaps it was still out there. Perhaps it had simply vanished, as spirits do. He touched the scar on his ribs and smiled. Epilogue. The whisper of the leaves. Under the baobab tree, Tunda shares his story, unaware that the spirit of the jungle still watches over him. Years passed. Tunda grew older, his hair turning silver. He no longer hunted, but sat beneath the great baobab tree, telling children the tale of the leopard's debt. Some listened in awe, others scoffed, but all felt the weight of his words. One night, as he sat alone, watching the stars, he heard it. A rustle. Slowly, he turned his head. There, beyond the firelight, a pair of amber eyes gleamed in the darkness. He smiled. "We are even," he whispered. The next morning, the villagers found only his footprints leading into the forest. They never found his body. Only, deep in the jungle, where no man dared go, the great leopard sat upon a rock, staring at the rising sun. And beside it, the ghost of a man walked in silence. The jungle never forgets.